Hi, welcome to Train Signal. I'm Bill, and this lesson is a welcome to Excel. We're going to go exploring. I'm going to show you around the application, get you comfortable with it, kick the tires, show you where things are and how to find them. We're going to start with the ribbon. The ribbon contains all of our commands, the things that we want Excel to do for us. We'll look at the Office button, the Quick Access toolbar, the Dialog Box Launcher, and our contextual tabs. Then we're going to go ahead and look at navigation, getting around in Excel. It has a lot of real estate to get through, and I want us to be a little bit more comfortable with getting from here to there. We'll use scroll bars, keyboard commands, and the go-to menu. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay. Like I told you before, we're going to get familiar with the new interface. We're going to look at the ribbon. The ribbon is where we're going to find most of our commands. All of the things we want Excel to do for us, all of those commands can be found on the ribbon. On the ribbon is a bunch of other things like the Office button. The Office button gives us very basic commands, things like open, close, save, new, print. The Quick Access toolbar. This is a place where we can create a custom toolbar with shortcuts to all of our most commonly used things. Stuff that we want to use a lot, we want to have quick access to. We can create a shortcut for them on the Quick Access toolbar. The Dialog Box Launcher shows us more details about the commands that we want. Gives us a lot more options for things. And our contextual tabs, they will only show up in the context of a particular item on our workbook. For example, if I have a table, I'll get a contextual tab with options for that table. So we won't see them all the time, just at certain points. Let's go ahead and let's open up our Excel. There it is, there's our Excel. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start from the top. Right up here, this black bar, that's our title bar. It says Book 1, Microsoft Excel. It says Book 1 because we haven't saved this file. We haven't given it a name. Once we do, it'll show us the name of our file up there. Now in Excel, you can have more than one workbook open at a time. And if they're similar, it may be hard for you to determine just by looking at the data which workbook you're in. Check your title bar. Your title bar is always going to tell you where you are. The area below here is the ribbon. The ribbon is where we're going to find our commands, all the things we want Excel to do for us. The ribbon's broken up into 7 tabs: Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, and View. By clicking on any of these tabs, we get different groups of commands. Every one of these little buttons is a command. You'll see that when I hover over them, they get lit up with a bright orange color around it. And I also get a screen text, a little screen tip. This one says Align Text Right. Over here in the upper left corner, we'll see our Office button. When I go ahead and click on it, it gives me other things that I can do. Some of the really basic things: new workbook, open a workbook, save as, print, send. You'll notice that some of them have these little arrows. They give me other things that I can do, different options under Save As. Look at how many I've gotten here. And I can roll over and select any of those. Now when I'm in my Office button, let's go up to the New button here, I can create a new workbook. When I click on it, it brings me to this page. This shows me templates that I can use. Remember, every blank workbook is really a template with everything set on it. And this is the blank workbook template. I can go ahead and choose Create. And I know what you're saying, Bill, it's the same file. Well, no, it's not. Take a look up here. This is Book 2. Remember, we were in Book 1 before. And if I look down here at my tab, I see Book 1 and Book 2. So we've opened a new blank workbook. Now, we're not going to go and use this one, so we're going to close it. So we're back into Book 1. We'll go ahead and we'll explore the Office button little by little as we go through today. There's going to be a lot of things on there that we're going to work with. Next is the Quick Access toolbar. That's this right here. The Quick Access toolbar is a toolbar where we can add more shortcuts. Now there are 3 basic ones that are up there right now: Save, Undo, Redo. The redo and the undo aren't available right now because we haven't done anything for them to undo or redo. We'll explore those in a little bit. What we want to do though with the quick access toolbar, this is the most customizable thing in our Excel. We can go ahead and add more of these buttons, these little shortcut buttons, to the quick access toolbar. So things that we use most often, I don't have to search around through my ribbon to find it. I can just go up to my quick access toolbar and click on it there. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Over here just to the right, there's this button pointing down, and you'll see it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar. When I click on that, I'll see a number of the really common buttons that people put on their quick access toolbar. And you'll see the ones that are already selected: save, undo, and redo. Those are the ones that are already there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and click on the new to add it to our quick access toolbar, and you'll see I have a new icon. It looks like a page with the corner turned over. Now if I click that, now I get book 3. I get book 3. It's called book 3 because it's numbering the books in the order that I create them in this session. Because we haven't closed Excel and opened it up again. Remember, I had book 1, we opened book 2 and closed it, so now we're in book 3. But I don't have to go, I've saved myself a click. By using this, I don't have to go to the button and select new. Make sure blank workbook is selected and choose create. Well, I got 5 workbooks. We're going to close up some of these. So the quick access toolbar is all about saving us time searching and clicking. Let's go ahead and add something else to our quick access toolbar. I'm going to click this once again. And of course there are more commands beside what we see here. If I go ahead and move down to the more commands, you'll see it opens this, and just about every command that we need or that we'll want to use in Excel we can get here. Now right here we're in, you'll see it has popular commands. These are the most popular ones, the ones that people use quite a bit. But if I select this drop down and choose all commands, well, there we go. There's a whole bunch of them in here that we can go ahead. We're going to go ahead and add open. There it is. I'm going to add the open command tool. I select it here on the left, go to the add button here, and when I click on that, you'll see it adds it over here on the right. And you'll notice we have all of the buttons that are on our quick access toolbar already. Save, undo, redo, the one we just added new, and now open. And you'll see now I have an open shortcut button, and when I click that, it opens up to my documents, and I can go and open up in a file that I already have that's existing. I'll show you later on as we go. We're going to add more things to our quick access toolbar and in other ways, but I want to get you familiar with it so that you can see what it's doing right now. Down here at the bottom of our ribbon, you'll see we have these little, that's our quick dialog box launch. If I go ahead and click on one of those, it'll open up this window. Now those of you who may have used older versions of Excel, this shouldn't be new to you. You should recognize this immediately. This gives us more options for that section. You'll see here I'm in the number section, and if I go ahead and click that open, it gives me options to format cells, number, and these are all the different things that we have. And we will look at that when we get into formatting. Alignment, we've got a bunch of cool things in here I'll show you. Fonts, looks very familiar now, doesn't it? So you'll see some of these have things that we can use and some don't. When I go to insert, the only one that has one of those is the charts. Page layout has a couple. Formula, data, review, design. Where'd that come from? That's our next section. If you noticed, when I went ahead and clicked on the chart dialog box launcher, I told it to create a chart for me right here. Now we haven't got any data, we haven't put anything in it. It's just a white box to hold our chart. But what it did was, you'll see up here it now says chart tools. That is one of our contextual menus. Remember we talked about that. Contextual menus only appear when we have a specific type of object. In this case, it's the chart. You'll see that is Chart Tools Design. That is Context button. I also have Layout and Format. You see this little bit of a green stripe here. That shows me which of these tabs are part of my contextual menu. Now if I click off of my chart, you'll see that that contextual menu is gone. I don't have those options, but when I click on it again, they've come back. Now I know all this stuff looks really cool in the charts, and don't worry, we're going to get to those later on. But for right now, I want us to just be aware of context. I'm going to go ahead now and to delete my chart, I'm going to select it. And again, selecting it by clicking on it, you'll see I've got this little border around it here that lets me know it's selected. These little dots. We'll talk more about that. And I see my contextual menu here. I'm simply going to use the delete key on my keyboard, and now my chart is gone. And what I want us to do now is switch to our next section, navigation, or how do I get around? The first thing I want you to see is that number 16,384 by 1,048,576. Now I'm not going to ask you to calculate it on your own. I'm going to show you exactly what that is in just a quick. I'm going to show you how to get around it in Excel. And we're going to start talking about some of these other things. First, we're going to go right up here in the upper right corner and show you these little buttons. And when it says minimize window. What that means, if I click on it, you'll see it minimized my window here. It took me down. I've got a tab that represents book. I don't have an underscore now. Picture that looks like two windows on top of each other. That's restore. That will open the window, but it's not open full screen. See, now I have this blue area around it. And actually, I could grab this window, just move up here to the title bar of the window, hold down my left mouse button, and you see I can move it. But I want it full screen. Moving it around like that is handy if you have several books open at one time, but I'm not going to for a while yet. So what I want to do is make this full screen. I'm only going to be working on this book. So that's this center icon here. It looks like a window open full screen, and when I hover over it, it says maximize. Go ahead and click that, and you'll see I'm back up to full screen. Now when I go up here, the X, not this bright red one up here, but this X, that will close the workbook that I'm in. And I'm going to go ahead and do that too. It asks me, do I want to save the changes I made? No, I haven't really done anything with this workbook, so I'm going to say no. And see, it leaves my Excel open, and now I can go ahead and simply open up a new file, one that's existing, or create a new one. Well, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So I'll go up here to my quick access toolbar, click on my new icon, and there we go. A brand new book. It's book 6 because we haven't closed Excel. Remember, this is the 6th workbook we've opened in this. Now, if I want to minimize my entire Excel window, my Excel session, I use my underscore up here on my title bar. See, now we can go back here and see my slides. And if I click on the tab down here where it says book 6, it opened it up fully again. If I use the resize window or restore down, click there, and see it makes my window smaller. And just like I did with workbook, I can grab this bar and move it around. But again, I want it to be full screen. So I will click on this button, which is now maximized. That takes us to this guy, the big red button with a big white X. As you might guess, that's the button to exit or close Excel. Let's go ahead and do that. See, and now my Excel is gone completely. We no longer see book 1 or 6. We were in 6 down here. To get back into my Excel, I have to open it again. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my start button and go back to. Let's talk about a couple of these other things. Let's take a look at this big question mark. That is my help button. Let's click on that. Pull this back up. And again, you'll notice that I pull this around simply by grabbing. Remember, you have to click on that title bar and then drag it with your mouse. This is going to take me to the Excel help section. You'll see all of these things, browse Excel help. It's going to show me when I need help on a bunch of different things, this is where I can find it. Now, if you have an online connection, and you'll notice down here it says connected to Office Online. If you have an active connection to the internet, this is going to take you to Microsoft Office Online and help you find help there. There are some help things that are built into the program, so if you don't have an internet connection, don't panic. You'll still be able to get some help. Going to Office Online is going to give you a little bit more expanded help, and it's also going to go ahead and Excel. Let's go ahead and let's close that. Below our ribbon here, you'll see this. This section here, as it says, is the name box. We use this to find where we are and to rename cells. Now, don't focus on that just yet. We're going to work with that a little bit later in much more detail. But over here to the right, this is our formula bar. The formula bar we will use quite a bit today. Now, you see these letters up here, A, B, C, etc. Those are my columns. It gives me columns of data. Over here, my numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Those are my rows. When I refer to an Excel cell, and a cell is every one, if you will, that's a cell, and I can activate that cell simply by clicking on it. But when I want to refer to a cell, I always list the column letter first and the row number last. You see up here my name box, it says A1. That's because I'm in column A, row 1. That's the cell that I have selected. If I go down here in column E and row 11, that tells me where I am. So if I tell you I want you to go to B13, simply click that. It's kind of like a big bingo, except it has a lot more rows and a lot more columns. What is this number, you ask me? 16,384 by 1,048,500. That is how many columns and rows. That's 1,717,986,184 individual cells on every Excel worksheet. It's a lot of real estate to have to get through. We're going to go ahead and show you a couple ways to get around a little easier. I'm going to start up here in A1. Usually the first thing people learn when they go ahead and start working with Excel is if you hit the Enter key, it moves me down. Also, if I use my Tab key, it moves me over to the right. I'll give you a keyboard shortcut that'll help you go back and forth the other ways because there is no Tab back. But if I hold down my Shift key and use my Tab, you'll see that it moves me back to the left. And the same way, if I hold down my Shift key and use the Enter, it takes me back up. I can also use the arrow keys on my keyboard. Down in the lower right corner, between your regular standard keys and the number keypad. Now this, of course, is assuming that you have a standard keyboard. You'll find 4 keys with arrows on them, up, down, left, right. And they will go ahead and allow you to move in that direction as well. I also have a scroll bar over here and some scroll arrows. You see I have an arrow here pointing up, another one pointing down. If I get my mouse right on top of that arrow and hold down the left mouse button, watch my row numbers. You'll see it's moving me down. And of course I can move back up using the up arrow. I also have a horizontal scroll bar. If I hold the mouse down to the right, it moves me to the right. Hold the left arrow down, it moves me that way. I can also use this scroll bar to slide up and down. But you'll notice that I still have A1 selected. Look at my name box. It still says A1. The scroll bars and the scroll arrows don't change which cell I have selected. They just move me around on the screen. Back to A1 here. Of course, there still are other ways to move around in Excel besides the scroll bars or the keys. If you want to change your page view, and by page view I mean what I can see on my screen. Take a look. I can only see the columns A through L and the rows 1 through 17. But what if I need to go ahead and move down, remember we have over 1 million rows that we can look at. What we're going to do is, again, above those arrow keys, you'll see 6 little keys that say Insert, Home, Page Up, Page Down, End, and Delete. Use your Page Down key, and look what happens. My top row is now 18. Remember before it was 1. I could see 1 through 17. Now I can see 18 through 34. Press down again, 35 through 51. You can probably guess the Page Up key will take me back up one screen view. If you look at the group of keys where our Page Up and Page Down are, you'll notice that you don't see a page left, page right. That doesn't mean we can't do it. We need to use a keyboard shortcut. So go ahead and hold on your Alt key and your Shift key at the same time. And while you're doing that, if you use your Page Down key, look at my column letters, you'll see it's moving across to the right. And if I hold down my Shift and Alt and use Page Up, it takes me back to the left. So again, another keyboard shortcut that helps us get around. If you know exactly where you're going, what cell you want to be in, it's real easy to get there. You don't have to enter, you don't have to page up, page down, you don't have to use tab, you don't have to use the arrows, the scroll bars. You simply need to go up to your name box here, and I'm going to click one time. You'll see that my A1 is highlighted, and I will type in the address of the cell I want to go to. Let's say I want to be in column GT, row 1980. I get it typed in, hit my enter. You see that's where it took me. Column GT, row 1980. Now if I want to get back to A1, sure, I could go up to the name box, I could type in A1, hit enter, and it'll take me back there. I'm going to show you another keyboard. Hold on your control key and hit the home key. Takes me back to A1. Control home will always take you back to A1. Another way to essentially do the same thing involves another keyboard shortcut. Hold on your control button, type the letter G. You'll see it opens up my go-to menu. Here, beneath the word reference, it has A1, and it's highlighted in black. All I need to do, just like I did before, type in that address, and click OK or hit enter. You'll see it takes me back to GT 1980. Now I want to go back to not necessarily A1, but I'd like to get to column A, but I want to still stay in row 1980. Another keyboard shortcut, use your home key just by itself. Don't use control home, just home alone, and it'll take you to A 1980. So remember, control home for A1, home alone keeps you in the same row, brings you to column A. Let's go ahead and let's get back to our A1. There are a few other keyboard shortcuts to help us get around, but because we don't have any data on this worksheet, I won't really be able to show you how they work. We'll use them as we go through the course. I'll show you a whole bunch of other cool things. So that pretty much wraps it up for our navigation. It's time to talk about what we learned. We began our lesson with a discussion about the ribbon. The ribbon was where we accessed all of the commands that we want to use in Excel. Remember, it was at the top of our screen. Also on the ribbon in the upper left corner we saw the Office button. The Office button was where we got some basic commands like New, Open, Print, Save, Save As, and some of those gave us more options. The next thing we saw was our Quick Access toolbar. The Quick Access toolbar is at the very top of our Excel, and it was a place to create shortcut buttons for the things we use most often. Our dialog box launcher, if you remember, was at the bottom of our ribbon. It was all those little squares that were on some of the ribbon sections. That gave us more options for those particular sections. Our ribbon was broken up into tabs. We had at the top Home, Insert, Formulas, Review, View, Data. We also had, don't forget, our contextual tabs. Our contextual tabs show us options for particular items. If you remember in our example, we had a chart, and we got the contextual tab for more chart options. We then talked about moving through Excel using our Enter key, our arrows, our tabs, page up, page down. From there we talked about our scroll bars, and then I show you some neat keyboard commands like Control Home to get us back to A1. And finally, I showed you the Go-To menu. As we go through more of our lessons, I'm going to show you a lot more things you can do with that. Thanks for joining me in this lesson, A Welcome to Excel.